Hey, welcome to the Danger Zone. It's Ashley. This is a spoiler warning. I just finished the book and I thought I'd share it with you. Bits and pieces, not the whole thing, of course. So if you don't want to know what's in that book, just don't watch any further. Lots of love and many blessings your way. And there was one person that made it possible for myself to obtain a copy of that book. Sharing for you to even think about me. I'm just super grateful. So thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I really enjoyed this book, don't get me wrong, but I believe it was just too safe. That's just my opinion. So when Meghan was born, her mother and father referred to her as Flower, and her mom would get upset because after an 80 and 90 hour work week, her dad wouldn't come home and show Doria a lick of attention first. He'd give it all to Flower. And Doria would say, "Oh, you're at the altar worshiping Flower again. Isn't that dysfunctional?" And eventually, a couple of years into it, Doria decided it was time for her to go. Now, when Doria wasn't babysitting Flower, Tom Jr. was. It says Samantha just wasn't into the baby, and I don't blame her. She was a teenager. Now, it talks about them dating in the beginning and what drew them together and what they found interesting in each other, but let me tell you what I took from that. Meghan showed him some toe-curling tricks in the bedroom, and that had him completely hooked. And she meant she was going to get her way with this dude, one way or the other. He's a complete asshole. That's what I took from the book. I really hate cussing in my videos, but there's just no other way to really drive home my point. He's a brat. He's a jerk. He's an absolute disloyal, spineless jellyfish. He's worse than pathetic. So when he went to his grandparents to have a talk with them about marrying this woman, all Philip did was say, "Hey, look, slow down, get to know her a little bit better." They weren't saying anything negative about her race. In fact, they were thrilled that she was someone of color. That was in the book. That brought the royal family up to date. So anyway, Harry and his grandfather were exchanging words regarding the marriage, and it seemed like Philip was getting a little heated. So Queen Elizabeth came in to sort of diffuse the situation. And he said to his grandmother, when she was trying to politely say, "Look, I kind of believe your grandfather has a point here. Just take your time, get to know her a little better." He says to his grandmother, "I'm going to marry her regardless, so you might want to suck it up." His words exactly to his granny. Then he decides to say this to her: "If you don't go along with this marriage to Meghan, guess what? People are going to start calling you a racist." And he totally backed them into the corner. I'm going to interject something here. I honestly feel that he knows so much, and he shared this so much with Meghan, and that's how come these people continue funding their life and giving them their way. Just like the racist comment, I honestly feel like he has his finger on the trigger, and they know that. The day they say no to him, he's going to pull the trigger. It went on to say that all of this racist stuff, Meghan has thought up and created in her own mind, and she's ran with it and believed it, and she's had enough faith in her fantasies that they have become almost reality. It talked about the dish soap commercial and how she didn't approve of it, and how her dad told her, "Sit down, write a letter, send it off to the soap company," and she went a step further and sent whatever to Hillary, right? And to hear her tell it, she's the one that changed that commercial. She's the one that changed the world. After researching, Lady Colin Campbell figured out that, hey, Meghan's letter had no bearing on this soap commercial changing. None whatsoever. Hillary Clinton's response to Meghan was the generic response that, the President of the United States or his wife give to whoever writes in. She had her dates all messed up. She wasn't 11. She was more like 14. Anyway, that's neither here or there. My thing is the fantasy. She had so much faith in that fantasy that she included that in a speech. Now, went on to talk about leading up to the wedding day itself at the St. George's Chapel, and how she demanded having her way, no matter who was flipping the bill. It was Meghan's day, not Harry's, but Meghan's. Meghan, of course, was getting what she wanted because Harry was going around telling people, whatever she wants, you agree to it. I don't care what it is. You're giving it to her. Well, when it came down to St. George's Chapel, they didn't give her way. Had they given in to her with the St. George's Chapel situation, the entire place would have been sprayed down, as Lady Colin Campbell says, to smell like a Soho bathroom. Meghan did not appreciate the way it smelled. St. George's Chapel stunk. It was too musky for her. And of course, she threw a huge fit over that emerald drop tiara that Eugenie had already been promised. So because this tiara had already been promised to Eugenie, of course, the Queen would not give in to Meghan. Meghan decided she wanted that particular headpiece. And the Queen told her it's already been promised to Eugenie, no matter what. And in a huff and a puff, she chose the one that's all encrusted with diamonds, looking like an eye. And here's a little bit of how Meghan's psychotic mind works. She literally took it personal in her mind that Eugenie picked the drop emerald tiara. In her mind, she felt Eugenie was trying to step on her toes by choosing that particular tiara. But in Meghan's psychosis, her mental health flare-up, in her brain, she had to get back at Eugenie, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Getting on with the wedding. Of course, she made Kate cry over Charlotte's dress. Now, the wedding list was nothing but A-listers. We all know this. She was scheming back then, y'all. That's how she's nutty as a fruitcake. She invited all of those A-listers with this in mind. Because they received a royal invitation, a once-in-a-lifetime event, for most anyway, she invited all of these snooty, rich, celebrity A-listers, folks she barely knew, if she did at all, with the thoughts that they now owed her one. Oh my God. So for the reception as well as the bride and groom's breakfast, she hands the chefs a list of everything she does not want in any of the dishes. It came time for her to sample said dishes. And in her mouth, she tasted whatever she asked to have left out. She went off so hardcore on these people that she made one of them cry, calling them liars. She told that lady, "You're a liar. I can taste the ingredient in this. You're a liar." And that is the moment when she was called down saying, "Look, we don't treat our staff this way. So you might want to change your tone." Immediately, because they called her out. They called her down. They tried to correct her. And there is nobody on this planet going to correct Meghan. In fact, if you don't agree with her, you are not her friend. Did you know that? You have to agree with everything she says. If she says that it's raining green peas, you, by gosh, better say it's raining green peas. Because if you tell her it's water droplets, she has no use for you anymore. So when they called her down and said, "Look, we don't talk to our staff this way," immediately she concocted this racism thing. This fantasy began that very moment. Now, she had all of these A-listers show up and have a great time over at Frogmore, but she told Tom Inskip he was not allowed to come to Frogmore. He was not going to enjoy the festivities with the rest of her friends. Listen, oh no, I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to keep on moving. 3 days later, Prince Charles had a garden party. It was his 70th birthday. He had all sorts of people there, associates, members of his charities, his organizations. This was a big deal. 15 minutes into shaking hands, introducing themselves, playing nice, being fake, whatever you have to do to earn that living, that's what they did. 15 minutes she lasted. She was overheard at that point saying, "Harry, come on, let's leave. This is so boring." Harry said, "No, we've got to stay. We can't just up and leave." She said, "Harry, everybody knows we've been here. They've seen us. We've taken pictures. We've made the rounds. Let's go. This is boring." He said, "No, we have to stay." That was evidently overheard by a lot more than one person. Because in that video snippet that I have a couple videos back where they're leaving the garden party, you can see Camilla and Charles both. They're telling them goodbye, kissing their cheek and playing it up for the cameras. At one point, Harry even said to him, "Hey, I can't talk to you here, there's cameras." Camilla was so put out with the situation, she just shooed them away. She didn't wave them goodbye. She shooed them away. The person that told Lady Colin Campbell this bit of information said, "Look, evidently, this person thinks that, life's a complete photo op. She gets all dolled up, smiles fake for the camera, and her job is completely finished. The rest of her day after 15 minutes is hers, and it just don't work that way. And by this point of the situation, everybody was already just completely put out with both Harry and Meghan. And it gets way worse. So do you guys remember the wedding of Charlie von Straubenese when they went and Harry was his best man and it happened to have been her birthday that day? So they show up, right? And Harry's doing his best man duties, whatever that entailed. Meghan was kind of standing around, looking fake, finding a camera lens. This young lady comes up to Meghan and says, "Gosh, you're so beautiful, and I'm glad you guys got married and I totally support it. And by the way, happy birthday. I found out it was your birthday today." Meghan decides she's going to look this girl up one side and down the next. Didn't say a single syllable, turns herself around and walks completely off in the girl's face. Stay tuned for more, y'all. I'll see you soon and we'll talk fast. Stay safe and be blessed.